The mind constantly produces thoughts in the same way the lungs draw breath. They arise naturally, effortlessly, and often without permission. Within this endless stream appear ideas that inspire courage, hope, and clarity, yet mixed among them are darker arrival doubts, anxieties, resentments, and silent accusations against ourselves or the world. Many people assume that because a thought appears, it must possess truth or authority. This assumption is the beginning of inner turmoil. The first discipline of a steady mind is learning to recognize thoughts without immediately surrendering to them. A thought is merely a suggestion presented to consciousness. It is not a command. It is not a verdict. It is simply a whisper that asks for attention. Yet the untrained mind treats every whisper as if it were a royal decree. A small doubt emerges, and suddenly it grows into certainty. A fleeting worry appears and quickly becomes a prophecy of disaster. Recognition breaks this dangerous chain. The moment a person pauses and notices the thought instead of automatically believing it, a quiet distance forms between the thinker and the thought itself. This distance is powerful. Within it lies freedom. When recognition occurs, the mind shifts from being a servant to becoming an observer. Instead of being dragged through a storm of emotions, the individual stands at the edge of the weather, watching the clouds assemble and disperse. The storm may still exist, but it no longer commands the entire sky. Consider how often a single negative thought attempts to disguise itself as reality. A mind might whisper, "You are not capable," or "You will fail," or "Others are against you." These statements appear convincing because they arrive with emotional intensity. Fear and insecurity wrap the thought in urgency, urging immediate acceptance. Recognition interrupts this illusion. The moment the mind says, "This is a thought, not a fact," the spell weakens. The thought is revealed for what it truly is, an interpretation rather than a truth carved into stone. Many people believe that controlling thoughts requires eliminating them entirely, but this expectation misunderstands the nature of the mind. Thoughts cannot be completely prevented from appearing any more than waves can be prevented from touching the shore. What can be controlled is the response that follows their arrival. Recognition is the moment when awareness meets the thought before emotion rushes forward to claim it. Without recognition, thoughts behave like sparks landing on dry grass. They ignite quickly and spread into emotional wildfire. Anger grows from a brief irritation. Envy grows from a passing comparison. Anxiety grows from a faint possibility imagined too vividly. Recognition acts like a watchful guardian who notices the spark before the flames begin. When a person develops this habit, the inner world becomes calmer and more orderly. Instead of reacting instantly, the mind pauses for examination. The thought is observed almost like an object placed on a table. It can be turned, inspected, and questioned. Where did this thought come from? Does it reflect evidence, or does it merely echo fear? Is it helpful, or does it weaken resolve? These questions create space for wisdom to enter. The practice of recognition also exposes how repetitive many negative thoughts truly are. The same patterns return again and again, wearing slightly different disguises. A worry about tomorrow resembles the worry that existed yesterday. A self-criticism mirrors the same voice that has spoken countless times before. Once these patterns are recognized, their authority begins to fade. Repetition reveals that the thought is not a fresh insight, but an old habit echoing through the corridors of the mind. Recognition also restores dignity to the individual. When thoughts are believed without question, the person becomes captive to every internal impulse. Mood rises and falls according to whatever idea happens to appear. But when thoughts are recognized rather than obeyed, a quiet authority develops within the mind. The individual becomes the one who evaluates, not the one who blindly reacts. This authority does not require aggression or force. It arises from calm awareness. Instead of arguing loudly with every negative thought, the trained mind simply acknowledges its presence and refuses to grant it power. A thought might say, "Something terrible will happen." Yet the observing mind calmly notes the statement without accepting it as prophecy. Another thought may claim, "You are not strong enough," but recognition sees it as merely another voice among many. With practice, this awareness grows sharper. Thoughts begin to reveal themselves more quickly, sometimes the very moment they appear. The mind becomes like a vigilant sentinel standing at the gate of a city, noticing each visitor before it enters. Some thoughts are welcomed because they bring insight or motivation. Others are allowed to pass without attention because they carry nothing useful. There is also a quiet humility in recognizing thoughts rather than surrendering to them. It reminds the individual that the mind is capable of producing both wisdom and distortion. Not every idea deserves loyalty. Not every emotion deserves expression. Recognition encourages careful judgment rather than automatic belief. Over time, the relationship between the thinker and the thought transforms completely. Thoughts lose their intimidating presence and become simply movements within consciousness. They rise, shift, and dissolve like patterns in flowing water. The mind no longer fears them because it understands their temporary nature. In this state of awareness, even negative thoughts lose much of their influence. They may still appear, but they arrive without the same persuasive force. Recognition exposes them immediately. Instead of dominating the mind, they become brief events observed from a place of composure and clarity. Through this practice, the individual begins to realize a profound truth. Thoughts do not control the mind unless the mind forgets to notice them. Recognition restores the ability to choose which thoughts deserve belief and which should simply be acknowledged and allowed to fade quietly into silence. Human life is filled with countless events, circumstances, and outcomes that unfold beyond personal command. The weather changes without permission, opinions shift without warning, and the actions of others move according to motives we cannot fully govern. Yet much of human anxiety arises from an invisible struggle against these uncontrollable forces. The mind exhausts itself wrestling with things that refuse to bend. The discipline of a steady mind begins with a simple distinction, recognizing what lies within personal control and what exists entirely outside it. This distinction is not merely philosophical reflection. It is a practical guide for mental clarity. Within every moment of life, there are two realms quietly existing side by side. One realm contains our choices, intentions, responses, and judgments. The other contains outcomes, accidents, external reactions, and circumstances that operate independently of our will. Peace emerges when attention is directed firmly toward the first realm and gently released from the second. Many individuals unknowingly reverse this order. They devote immense energy worrying about results. They cannot command while neglecting the inner discipline that is entirely theirs to shape. They fear how others will judge them, how events might unfold, or whether success will arrive exactly as imagined. This misplaced focus creates an endless cycle of tension because the mind attempts to steer a current that does not obey its hands. Clarity begins when a person pauses and asks a precise question in the face of difficulty. Is this truly within my influence? This question acts like a compass, pointing attention toward the only territory where effort has meaning. If the matter lies outside personal control, then agitation serves no purpose. If it lies within control, then action becomes the appropriate response instead of worry. Consider the example of reputation. Many people spend enormous mental energy trying to manage how they are perceived by others. They rehearse conversations in their minds, imagine criticisms that may never occur, and feel disturbed by opinions they cannot prevent. Yet reputation ultimately lives in the minds of other individuals. It is shaped by their interpretations, biases, and experiences. No person can fully dictate the thoughts that occur inside another mind. What remains within control is personal character honesty, effort, fairness, and dignity in conduct. When attention shifts from reputation to character, anxiety weakens because character depends entirely on personal choice. The same principle applies to success and failure. Outcomes are influenced by countless variables: timing, opportunity, the cooperation of others, and sometimes pure chance. These elements move beyond direct command. However, dedication, preparation, discipline, and resilience exist firmly within personal authority. A person who focuses on these internal qualities works with stability because the effort itself becomes the reward. The mind remains calm because its attention rests on something that can genuinely be guided. This perspective does not encourage passivity. Instead, it encourages intelligent effort. A gardener cannot command the rain or guarantee that every seed will grow. Yet the gardener can prepare the soil, plant carefully, and tend the garden with patience. By focusing on the tasks within reach, the gardener participates fully in the process without becoming distressed by the elements beyond control. Much emotional suffering arises when the mind refuses to accept this boundary. It insists on controlling the uncontrollable, and frustration inevitably follows. People become angry at circumstances that never promised obedience. They become anxious about possibilities that have not yet arrived. They replay situations from the past as if mental repetition could somehow rewrite what has already occurred. The past is one of the clearest examples of what lies entirely outside control. No amount of reflection can alter a moment that is already past. Yet many minds continue to revisit old mistakes or regrets, attempting to argue with time itself. Wisdom lies in recognizing that the past can offer lessons but cannot be reshaped. The only power that exists now is the ability to act differently in the present. Another common source of disturbance is the unpredictable behavior of other people. Each individual carries their own beliefs, emotions, ambitions, and fears. Expecting others to always behave according to personal expectations is a hidden form of control seeking. Disappointment grows when those expectations collide with reality. A calmer approach recognizes that while influence is possible through communication and example, final decisions belong to the other person. The mind remains steady because it accepts the independence of others while maintaining control over its own responses. Focusing on what lies within control also strengthens personal responsibility. When attention is directed inward rather than outward, excuses lose their appeal. Instead of blaming circumstances for every difficulty, the mind begins to ask what actions can still be taken. Even in challenging situations, there are always elements that remain within reach: patience, perseverance, integrity, thoughtful judgment. These qualities transform adversity into an opportunity for inner strength. This practice gradually simplifies life. Many unnecessary worries fall away because they belong to the realm that cannot be commanded. The mind becomes selective with its energy, investing attention only where it can produce meaningful change. Emotional storms begin to quiet because the individual stops fighting battles that were never meant to be fought. The result is a sense of quiet autonomy. External events continue to shift unpredictably, yet the individual remains centered because the source of stability is internal. The focus rests firmly on deliberate actions, thoughtful choices, and the cultivation of character. Every moment presents an opportunity to practice this discipline. When a difficulty appears, the mind briefly examines the situation and separates the controllable from the uncontrollable. Effort flows toward what can be shaped, while the rest is acknowledged and released without resistance. Gradually, the mind learns that freedom does not come from controlling everything that happens, but from mastering the small and powerful domain that has always belonged to it, its own judgments, decisions, and actions. The mind is a vast sky of awareness, Yet many people spend their lives believing that every passing cloud defines the sky itself. Thoughts drift continuously across consciousness, some bright and encouraging, others heavy with doubt, fear, or regret. The untrained mind mistakes these passing formations for permanent structures, allowing temporary impressions to dominate emotional life. Wisdom begins when a person learns to observe negative thoughts as passing clouds rather than permanent truths. A cloud does not claim ownership of the sky. It appears, shifts shape, and eventually dissolves into the open air from which it came. Thoughts behave in much the same way. They emerge from memory, imagination, or momentary emotion, yet they rarely remain for long unless attention clings tightly to them. The difficulty arises because many individuals instinctively grasp their thoughts the moment they appear. They examine them, repeat them, defend them, and sometimes even build their identity around them. When a troubling thought arises, perhaps a fear of failure or a sudden feeling of inadequacy, the mind often treats it as if it were a reliable announcement about reality. The thought feels convincing because it carries emotional weight. Fear adds urgency, sadness adds heaviness, and frustration adds intensity. These emotional colors make the thought appear solid and permanent. Yet, when observed carefully, it becomes clear that the thought itself is only a mental event passing through awareness. Imagine sitting quietly and watching the sky during a calm afternoon. Clouds drift across slowly, sometimes forming shapes that capture the imagination. One might resemble a mountain, another a ship, another a distant city. Yet no one confuses these shapes with real mountains or cities. The observer knows they are temporary patterns formed by shifting air and moisture. In the same way, many thoughts resemble meaningful conclusions when in reality, they are simply temporary formations produced by the mind. The difficulty arises when attention locks onto these formations and begins to treat them as undeniable facts. A single negative thought can expand quickly when the mind feeds it with continuous attention. It grows larger, darker, and more convincing until it seems to cover the entire sky of awareness. At this point, the person feels trapped beneath it, believing the thought describes reality itself. Observation without attachment weakens this illusion. Instead of arguing fiercely with the thought or trying to suppress it, the individual simply notices it. The thought is allowed to exist without being granted authority. This quiet observation changes the relationship between the thinker and the thought. The mind no longer stands inside the cloud. It watches the cloud drift across the open sky. Many people assume that observing thoughts in this way requires emotional coldness or indifference, but the practice actually creates greater clarity and balance. By stepping back from the immediate influence of a thought, the individual gains the ability to evaluate it calmly. Some thoughts may contain useful signals that deserve reflection. Others may be exaggerated reactions or echoes of old fears. Observation allows wisdom to separate the meaningful from the misleading. Another powerful realization emerges through this practice. Thoughts are remarkably unstable. Even the most intense negative idea eventually weakens when it is not constantly fed with attention. A worry that once felt overwhelming may fade quietly when the mind stops rehearsing it repeatedly. Anger that seemed powerful may dissolve when it is observed without judgment or reinforcement. This natural fading process often goes unnoticed because people unintentionally prolong the life of their thoughts. They replay conversations, imagine worst-case scenarios, and revisit old disappointments as if the mind were a stage where the same drama must be performed again and again. Each repetition strengthens the cloud until it appears permanent. Observation interrupts this repetition. The individual begins to see the thought arise in its early stage before it has gathered momentum. Instead of building elaborate stories around it, the mind simply acknowledges its presence. The thought remains visible for a moment and then moves onward, much like a cloud carried by a quiet wind. There is also great freedom in realizing that thoughts are not the same as identity. Many people define themselves by the negative ideas that occasionally appear in their minds. A passing doubt becomes evidence of weakness. A temporary fear becomes proof of incapability. Yet the appearance of a thought reveals nothing about the character of the person observing it. The sky is not diminished because a dark cloud passes through it. The mind produces thousands of thoughts each day, many of them random fragments shaped by memory, mood, or external influence. Treating each one as a reflection of personal truth creates unnecessary confusion. Observation restores perspective by reminding the individual that consciousness is larger than any single thought. Over time, this practice cultivates patience within the mind. When a difficult thought appears, the individual no longer reacts with immediate alarm. Instead, there is quiet curiosity. The thought is examined briefly, almost like a traveler passing through a town. Some travelers remain for meaningful conversation. Others continue their journey without leaving any lasting impression. Gradually, the mind becomes less crowded and more spacious. Negative thoughts still appear occasionally, just as clouds continue to cross the sky, but they no longer dominate the landscape. The individual learns that awareness itself is stable and open, while thoughts are fleeting movements within it. This understanding transforms the inner environment. Emotional turbulence decreases because the mind no longer treats every thought as a permanent declaration. Instead, thoughts are recognized as temporary visitors shaped by circumstance and imagination. By observing them calmly, without clinging or resistance, the individual allows the natural movement of the mind to unfold freely. Each thought arrives, lingers briefly, and then drifts away into the vast openness of awareness where it gradually dissolves, leaving the clear sky of the mind undisturbed. Attention is one of the most valuable resources a human being possesses, yet it is often treated with remarkable carelessness. Wealth can be regained, opportunities can return, and even physical strength can be rebuilt over time. But the moments of life that slip away while the mind wanders through unnecessary fears can never be reclaimed. Guarding attention, therefore, becomes an act of quiet wisdom, a deliberate choice to protect the mind from the endless distractions of imagined worries. The mind has a natural tendency to wander beyond the present moment. It travels forward into uncertain futures and backward into moments that have already disappeared. In these journeys, it often constructs elaborate scenarios of worry situations that have not occurred and may never occur. The imagination, when left undisciplined, becomes an architect of anxiety. It sketches possible disasters with vivid detail, convincing the mind that preparation for every imagined difficulty is necessary. This habit quietly consumes attention. Instead of being directed toward purposeful action or thoughtful reflection, the mind becomes entangled in speculation. Hours are spent analyzing events that exist only in possibility. Energy is drained by rehearsing conversations that may never happen, anticipating failures that have not appeared, and defending against problems that might never arise. To guard attention is to recognize that the mind cannot flourish while constantly dwelling in these invented landscapes. Attention must be directed deliberately toward what is real, present, and meaningful. When the mind focuses on the current moment, on the task being performed, the conversation unfolding, or the effort required for improvement, it becomes sharper and more effective. Clarity replaces confusion because energy is concentrated rather than scattered. Imagined fears possess a peculiar ability to disguise themselves as responsible thinking. A person may believe that worrying about every possible difficulty is a form of preparation. In reality, excessive anticipation rarely prepares the mind. It weakens it. True preparation involves thoughtful planning and measured action, not endless mental rehearsal of negative possibilities. There is an important distinction between foresight and worry. Foresight examines potential outcomes calmly and takes practical steps when necessary. Worry repeats the same uncertain questions again and again without reaching any useful conclusion. One strengthens the mind through purposeful thinking, while the other drains attention through endless speculation. Guarding attention requires learning to notice when the mind begins to drift toward unnecessary fears. This awareness often appears as a quiet realization that the mind has wandered into a scenario that does not yet exist. Instead of continuing the mental journey deeper into that imagined future, the individual gently redirects attention back to the present moment. This redirection may seem simple, yet it requires discipline. The imagination often tries to pull attention back into its dramatic narratives. It suggests new complications, new doubts, and new possibilities for disaster. The mind must respond with calm authority, recognizing that these mental stories deserve neither panic nor prolonged engagement. Attention is similar to light. Wherever it shines, that area becomes vivid and influential within the mind. When attention focuses repeatedly on imagined fears, those fears grow stronger and more convincing. When attention is redirected toward purposeful action, growth and progress begin to appear in that space instead. Guarding attention also encourages deeper appreciation for the present moment. When the mind is not constantly preoccupied with uncertain futures, it becomes more aware of the experiences unfolding right now. Work becomes more engaging because focus is undivided. Conversations become more meaningful because listening is genuine. Even simple activities gain richness when attention is fully present. Many anxieties fade naturally when attention returns to reality. A fear imagined during idle thought may appear enormous, yet when the mind engages fully with present responsibilities, the imagined threat loses its intensity. Action replaces speculation and clarity replaces uncertainty. Another benefit of guarding attention is the preservation of emotional stability. Imagined fears often trigger real emotional reactions, anxiety, tension, restlessness, even though the events being feared have not occurred. By refusing to invest attention in these imagined scenarios, the mind avoids unnecessary emotional turbulence. This discipline also strengthens resilience. When a genuine challenge eventually appears, the mind that has conserved its attention is better prepared to respond with calm reasoning. It has not exhausted itself by fighting imaginary battles. Its energy remains available for real situations that require thoughtful action. The practice of guarding attention becomes easier through repetition. Each time the mind notices itself drifting toward unnecessary fear and gently returns to the present task, a small habit of awareness is reinforced. Over time, this habit grows stronger, allowing the individual to maintain steadier focus throughout the day. This steadiness transforms the inner environment. Instead of a mind constantly pulled in different directions by imagined concerns, there emerges a sense of quiet order. Thoughts move more slowly and deliberately. Decisions become clearer because attention is not divided among countless hypothetical problems. Attention, when protected carefully, becomes a source of strength. It allows the mind to engage deeply with meaningful work, to reflect wisely on important matters, and to experience life without the constant interference of unnecessary worry. The imagination remains a powerful tool, capable of creativity and insight, but it no longer dominates the mind with endless projections of fear. Attention stays anchored in the present moment, directed toward actions that truly shape the course of life, rather than toward shadows that exist only within restless speculation. The mind is a workshop, not a storage room. Every moment of attention, every choice of focus, and every repeated habit shapes its character. Just as a sculptor chisels a block of marble to reveal hidden form, the individual shapes the mind through repeated practice, careful judgment, and disciplined reflection. Strengthening the mind through reason, discipline, And perspective is not a sudden transformation, but a slow, deliberate cultivation. A lifelong engagement with one's inner landscape that brings clarity, resilience, and freedom. Reason is the first instrument of this cultivation. It is the faculty that distinguishes between what is true and what is merely suggested by fleeting emotion. A thought may arise laden with fear, anger, or doubt, yet reason allows the individual to examine it without being swept away. It asks, is this thought accurate? Does it reflect reality, or does it only echo past experiences or imagined outcomes? Through reason, the mind learns to filter impressions, separating fleeting emotional reactions from insights that merit attention. This filtering process is essential because unchecked thoughts can quickly accumulate, clouding judgment and distorting perception. Reason does not eliminate emotion, it guides it. It ensures that energy is invested in matters worthy of deliberation rather than dissipated in the endless labyrinth of imagined problems. Discipline works hand in hand with reason. It is the mechanism by which reason is translated into consistent practice. The mind is not strengthened in a single effort. It is fortified through repeated choices. Discipline requires turning awareness into action and action into habit. Each time the mind resists an unhelpful worry, observes a passing negative thought without reacting, or redirects attention to the present, it builds a neural and emotional architecture of resilience. Like the repeated strikes of a blacksmith's hammer shaping iron into steel, these daily acts of mental training harden the mind's capacity to endure, focus, and respond with equanimity. Discipline is neither rigid nor harsh. It is steady and patient. It does not seek to crush thoughts or emotions, but to channel them in ways that support growth and understanding. Perspective is the lens through which reason and discipline are applied. It transforms experience into wisdom. The individual who cultivates perspective understands that few challenges are as permanent or catastrophic as they initially appear. Circumstances, people, and outcomes are transient. What seems overwhelming in a moment often becomes trivial with time. Perspective allows the mind to step back from immediate disturbances and recognize the broader context in which events occur. It prevents the exaggeration of threats, tempers impulsive reactions, and fosters clarity. By integrating perspective with reason and discipline, the mind no longer perceives itself as captive to circumstances, but as an active participant capable of navigating uncertainty with composure. Strengthening the mind is also a practice of selective engagement. Attention, like a beam of light, illuminates whatever it falls upon. Where it shines repeatedly, growth occurs. Where it wanders without intention, confusion and anxiety accumulate. The disciplined mind chooses where to focus. Thoughts that build understanding, reinforce character, or inspire deliberate action receive attention. Thoughts rooted in fear, envy, or resentment are noted, examined, and released. This selective engagement ensures that mental energy is invested in creating strength rather than reinforcing weakness. Over time, this practice reshapes the internal environment. The mind becomes spacious, flexible, and vibrant, capable of holding complex ideas without being overwhelmed by distraction or disturbance. Daily reflection reinforces this cultivation. The individual pauses to examine the mind's patterns, noticing which thoughts recur, which impulses demand attention, and which habits of reaction dominate behavior. Reflection is not self-punishment or obsessive critique. It is careful observation with the aim of improvement. Each reflection is an opportunity to refine reason, fortify discipline, and recalibrate perspective. Just as a gardener inspects the growth of plants and prunes what is unnecessary, reflection allows the mind to maintain clarity, remove distortions, and nurture productive tendencies. Strengthening the mind also requires patience with oneself. Progress is gradual, often imperceptible on a day-to-day basis. Negative thoughts will continue to arise. Distractions will appear. Impulses will tempt the unwary. Yet each instance is an opportunity to exercise the skills cultivated over time. The key is consistency, not perfection. The repeated practice of reason, discipline, and perspective gradually reshapes the internal terrain, producing a mind that responds rather than reacts, observes rather than obsesses, and engages rather than avoids. Another essential aspect of mental strengthening is the cultivation of resilience in the face of external uncertainty. Life is inherently unpredictable. People, circumstances, and opportunities exist beyond personal control. A mind trained in reason, discipline, and perspective does not deny reality, but instead adapts to it. When events unfold in unexpected ways, the individual responds with deliberate thought and steady action rather than panic or despair. This resilience is not passive acceptance. It is the dynamic application of internal resources to navigate external complexity. The stronger the mind, the more capable it becomes of enduring challenges without losing composure or direction. The strengthening of the mind is not an inward turn that isolates the individual from life. Rather, it enables more effective engagement with the world. A mind governed by reason, shaped by discipline, and informed by perspective interacts with others more fairly, communicates more clearly, and acts with greater purpose. It is less swayed by petty provocations, less consumed by imagined threats, and more capable of sustained focus on meaningful objectives. Strength is cultivated not for display or ego, but to live fully in accordance with deliberate principles, to act ethically, and to respond intelligently to the flow of experience. As this process continues over time, the mind achieves a profound stability. Thoughts, emotions, and events retain their natural appearance, yet they no longer dictate behavior indiscriminately. The individual experiences life with heightened clarity, measured judgment, and a capacity to navigate complexity without succumbing to disorder. The internal landscape becomes a workshop of deliberate creation rather than a chaotic warehouse of unexamined reactions. Reason informs every choice. Discipline reinforces every habit, and perspective ensures that insight is applied wisely. Ultimately, the strengthening of the mind transforms not only internal experience, but also the quality of life itself. Moments are no longer lost to unnecessary worry. Actions are no longer undermined by fear. Judgments are no longer clouded by fleeting impulses. The individual becomes a steward of consciousness, capable of directing attention with purpose, cultivating character with intention, and responding to life with both clarity and resilience. The mind, once scattered and reactive, emerges as a strong, disciplined, and perceptive instrument, ready to navigate the complexities of existence with composure and wisdom.